you go. Yay. Okay. Got it. And we should be live pretty soon. Any minute, as soon as it loads. Okay. All right. It's still loading. There we go. Fantastic. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to Everything Horses and More podcast with me, your host, Caroline Best, founder of the Tao of Horsemanship, and my lovely, beautiful co-host, Lydia Primavera. Yay! Oh, we have a very, exciting podcast today. So today we're going to be talking about closing the gap between spirituality and science. And the promotion that I put out about this podcast, I'm just going to read it for those of you on YouTube or listeners later that are not part of our subscriber list. You'll know what this is about. And so closing the gap between spirituality and science, this podcast is dedicated to learning how to use your intuition to connect to and make sense of, if we can, spirituality and science. And Lydia is going to definitely be diving in deep about this subject. We both will be, but this is really Lydia's, what do I want to say? Your topic of interest. It's mine too.
It's been my journey. It's been a journey.
Yes, it is a journey. I mean, it's definitely been mine since high school. This is part of the deep reading and thinking and pondering. So we're going to be talking, especially Lydia, about all of this. It's come to fruition recently because you've done a lot of recent listening and watching and reading. So it's kind of like you're revisiting this, and it's just been so inspirational. And then you've told me just a little bit about it, and then you sent a bunch of great links that I didn't have a chance to look at all of those from PBS. But yeah, you've included them, and I'll include them in this on YouTube when we're done too, and then in the podcast recording so people can click there. But we are going to there's several topics of discussion today that we're going to be focusing on, and then Lydia's got a great story or two. So we're going to be talking about consciousness, overpowering connectedness, transcending, clairvoyance, stewardship, permanence versus impermanence. And I put in there nervous system and self-regulation. And so all these things connect, and we're going to talk about how they connect to both spirituality and science. And for me, the big topic of science is making this tangible, if it's even possible. It's like when I developed my method of horsemanship, it began with the spirituality, discovering the spirituality of horsemanship. And, that's my number one course and foundation to my work is to me, the whole experience and journey of horsemanship for me and those that are interested in to learn this, my students, is a spiritual experience. It's not just a mechanical or technical, which is science, and the biomechanics, and of course the nervous system. All of this stuff is so integral and important, but it's the feeling. It's the feeling that permeates, that happens during this process, that makes the learning, the experience so powerful. And so, I mean, it's like like you'll say, the molecule, every fiber in our body, it just resonates with this feeling. And that's what we're going to be talking about, that part of the spirituality of it all. Lydia wrote earlier or last week about, she added to the post that was promoting this podcast, and I'm going to share what you wrote. Lydia wrote, "I want to share this quote that I've utilized throughout my gardening career. It is the key to what I've discovered over a lifetime of listening to plants and animals. They have helped me find the truth and understanding the connectedness between all things. Rudolf Steiner presents a notion of science that says we can know things that go beyond what we can weigh, measure, and calculate. Science is the practice of observing phenomena and relating that phenomena in a way that correctly represents the phenomena's reality. Agricultural judgments about health, what to do where, and when to do what best succeed when we begin to rely on a certain wisdom gained through observation and experience, and when we perceive consciously and concretely the phenomena that induce life itself. That is powerful. And then you wrote, spirituality is just science we don't understand yet. And Lydia wrote that. Yeah, this is so profound and deeply thought-provoking, to say the least. So before I'm going to let,
I want to mention that wisdom goes back millions of years, not just this life.
Yes.
On a cellular, on a atom level, that knowledge goes way back if you know how to find it.
Yes. Yes. Very good point. Thank you.
That's what intuition is all about, is finding it.
Yes. It's like what is tuition? It's like a tuning fork. It's a barometer. It's how it resonates. It's what guides us if we listen to it, and asks questions. Intuition makes us probe and ask questions. Definitely. Even when
that's what's
science
so great about
tell us something else.
That's what's so great about the Tao of horsemanship, is we're taught in the very beginning to quiet our mind and to get to a different place that we haven't been, to settle
to
in
listen
our
to our intuition. Yes.
To find our authenticity. Yes.
That it is. It is. Thank you for that.
It gets us there to that authentic place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. The horse is a beautiful guide to intuition. Oh my gosh, and authenticity. Before I'm going to hand this over to you, as I always do when we have a lot of big words and big thoughts, I'm going to bring up those talking points and the definition of each, just so that we're all on the same page, because often we have different perceptions and understandings of what words mean, even language. And I want to make sure this is a really deep subject matter, that we're all on the same page. So the talking points, the first one is consciousness. And basically the definition of consciousness, because we're going to be talking, Lydia is going to be taking over in a little bit about all this. Consciousness at its simplest is sentience and awareness. Sentience and awareness of internal and external existence. Sentience is the capacity to experience feelings and sensations. And we're always talking about it in my work with horses and my courses, my students. We believe, our community, we believe horses, animals, plants, they're sentient beings. Bees, everything has a level of sentience. So there's many stages of consciousness, many different levels. I'm just going to read to you what I relate to personally. This has been my journey as well, my entire life. And so the 3 levels of consciousness, we can view consciousness in these distinct levels: the conscious, the subconscious or pre-conscious, and the unconscious. And I think through psychology, we all have heard that before. You're either consciously aware, subconsciously, or unconscious about why you do what you do, our behaviors, what motivates us. So there's a level of consciousness about it. There's a subconscious motivation, and there's an unconscious. There's also different stages of consciousness. There's basic, believe it or not. There's enlightened. And there's 7 stages of basic consciousness. And this is kind of instinctual. That's what it means by basic needs. And we have survival consciousness. We have relationship, self-esteem, transformation, internal cohesion, making a difference, service, and full spectrum. And then we have enlightened. And the first one would be self-esteem consciousness. We also have self-awareness, self-assurance, self-belief, self-value, self-image, self-leadership, self-mission, self-vision, self-actualization. So let's get to the word overpowering connectedness. Social connection improves physical health and mental and emotional well-being. So look what happened during COVID. Look at the disaster with the depression and suicides and drug abuse, homelessness. Look what our lack of social connection created during the pandemic. And it absolutely angers me and horrifies me and saddens me all at the same time that our leaders in our world, our leading professionals, did not talk about this, what we're talking about right now. Because without social connection, we start to die emotionally, mentally, and physically. Our health declines. So people who feel more connected to others have lower levels of anxiety and depression. Moreover, studies show they also have higher self-esteem, greater empathy, are more trusting and cooperative, and as a consequence, others are more open to trusting and cooperating with them. Trust. Wow. In other words, social connectedness generates a positive feedback loop of social, emotional, and physical well-being. And so that's connectedness. Now, what about overpowering? Overpowering means extremely strong or intense, overwhelming. And Lydia, you're going to be able to dive in more. These are your key words. So I'm just giving people a general understanding and definition of them, but then the whole context of how what you were reading and learning and experiencing in this will be amazing. How about the word transcending? This is one of my favorite words, transcendental or transcending. So to rise or go beyond the limits of. Many achieve self-transcendence through their faith in God, while others may achieve it through recognition of some system of spirituality or idea of the soul. This faith or spirituality can help individuals find the meaning that will fulfill them and propel them to transcendence. So what is transcendence? Existence or experience beyond the normal or physical level. To me, it is a feeling. That's my personal experience. And it's a feeling that overcomes me. And the best way I can describe it, and I do this in a lot of my work with horses and my videos, is I call it an endorphin high. That is related to the zone for professional athletes or the runner's high. You literally, for me, my seventh chakra is buzzing when I feel like I'm transcending or going somewhere outside of my body, and my senses heighten to their fullest. And often, in about 99% of the videos that I am filming that you guys see on YouTube or in my courses, I'm in that place. Like I'll start out by reading, so I keep to the monologue and I don't ramble. So I'll have a short little monologue that I'll read, but then I go somewhere else. And I feel so light and tingly, and I'm buzzing, like the frequency in my seventh chakra is just, and you'll notice the horses and how they respond to it. They go to sleep. You'll just see so many of them just completely zonk out because I'm so grounded, yet the vibration of, I believe it's my soul, the vibration of my soul connecting to here's the connectedness, interconnectedness to everything around me. My entire chakra system is open. And so the best thing I can say is you just look at the horses, because they're always asleep. They just hit that zone and go, or they want to come in closer and be a part of that. And that's also what I teach in my work. So transcendence, the possibility of spiritual transcendence in the modern world. It means going beyond a limit or surpassing a boundary. Impermanence means remaining within or existing within the confines of a limit. The divine is said to transcend humanity. Boy, all of these, we could dive in deep. What is the meaning of transcendence in philosophy? Philosophical definitions of transcendence often emphasize the idea of going beyond or exceeding the limits of human experience, and may focus on concepts such as rationality, consciousness, or the nature of reality. So I'm not going to get into some of the stuff I picked up. Transcend, the new science of self-actualization, Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs. Then we've got psychologist Scott Kaufman, who discovered Maslow. It's just really cool about going beyond our basic instincts. Now we get to clairvoyance. So the word clair, anytime you hear clairvoyant, it means clarity, clairsentience. So clair means clarity, to be clear. So just remember that. And it is an intuition. So clairvoyance, clairsentience, there's a bunch of them, and they're all related to fine-tuning your intuition and using that as your, as I call it, a tuning fork, your guide, your information highway. So it's not thinking, it's what you feel. And for all of us that have followed our intuition, it's always correct, isn't it? It's when we don't follow our intuition that we just are like, oh, why didn't I trust myself? Why didn't I listen to myself? So clairvoyance is the ability to perceive things or events in the future and beyond normal sensory contact. The ability to gain information about an object, person, location, or physical event through extrasensory perception. How many of you, like, I love watching Dateline, Forensic Files. When I can't sleep at night, I've been watching this stuff for 30 years, you know, you name it. Often cops, you know, detectives, they will hire a clairvoyant to help them tune in to a crime scene in hopes that they can, you know, look in the past or look in the future to find the perpetrator, you know, that they think. Pretty cool. Now, clairsentience is a psychic ability for a person to acquire knowledge by means of feeling. I am definitely clairsentient. It's a gift and a curse. And so this is the physical ability, and that's for you to tune in and acquire knowledge by means of how it feels, resonates within your body. So basically, clairsentients are aware of a stream of energetic vibrations through their own bodies and emotions. It's a clear feeling. That's what it means. And it's perhaps the most down-to-earth of all intuitive gifts. People who experience clairsentience are affected by a myriad of different influences, but it all comes down to being sensitive to changes in energy. And look at the work that I do. It's all about energy, isn't it, you guys? So if you are clairsentient, you're capable to experience and feel both inner and outer energy in a more intuitive way. And I think a lot of people are clairsentient. Don't you, Lydia? How many of us say we're empaths? We're empaths.
Well, none of these skills are unique to any human being. Everybody can do them. Everybody.
Yes, absolutely. 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 But so
it's
often
it's called 3 deep breaths and a slide.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
It's 3 deep breaths and a slide.
No, I'm not laughing at that. But in my experience with dealing, when we start talking about this stuff, it validates and gives our audience permission to own it. Because science, even science and society, we steer away from these words. You know, they're too esoteric, they're too woo-woo-y. Yet, yes, we were all born with 100% of our intuition. Absolutely. But we keep losing it the more we develop technology and our brains and everything. We keep losing our ability to hone into those intuitive gifts.
The minute we're taught to start to look at words and form opinions is when we lose it.
That's a great point. That's a perfect point. Thank you for that. Yes. Yeah. All right. Stewardship, our next word. I love this word. Stewardship, the conducting, supervising, or managing of something, especially the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care, like our horses,
land,
our body, land, our environment.
This body I got to live in.
Yes. Yes.
This house, life is 98% maintenance. I'm sorry for that fact, but
we keep aging. Every day we're aging. Every day we're breaking down and dying. That's a fact.
This is 98% maintenance, period.
Absolutely. Beautifully put. Okay, permanence and impermanence. What do you mean by that? So Buddhism views impermanence, anicca, or I never say this right, Anitya. I'll just go back again. Buddhism views impermanence as one of their essential doctrines that posits everything changes and nothing lasts forever. I love that. That is such a surrender. Isn't that so hard for our egos? Everything changes and nothing lasts forever.
Well, and the Dalai Lama thinks that consciousness has no beginning and no end.
Yes.
But the body, the material, has a beginning and an end.
Yes, absolutely. Beautifully. Thank you. Yep. Everything from our emotions to our thoughts and feelings, from the cells in our bodies to the plants around us, is changing and decaying continuously. Yes,
and transcending into something else.
Yes. Yes.
Unless preserved in perpetuity, then I question that idea.
I love it. All right. So permanence means staying the same or continuing for a long time. Permanent. A loving family environment gives children that sense of stability and permanence, which they need. That's an example. So people who lack emotional permanence struggle with emotional regulation. So, and that's key, because that's learned coping mechanisms. And so many of us, we all come from some level of dysfunction in our families. So if you didn't come from a very stable environment growing up, you're going to struggle with emotional agility, self-regulation, feeling permanence, feeling safe. Most of us do, especially if you come from alcoholic family or a family that had alcoholism, you're going to transfer those behaviors down. Even if the family doesn't drink anymore, you still have those learned behaviors. It's sad. It's such a cycle.
If you are raising a family in the time of social media and trying to figure out any sort of truth, this is for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your own truth, not the truth of what somebody else said.
Yeah, well, and also getting back to connectedness. I mean, our children spend way too much time on social media, and it's destroying.
You and I were talking at the beginning before we started, laying on our backs and looking at the stars, and me feeling like when I was a kid, I wanted to go home to the stars.
Yeah.
And that feeling of being lost here on this planet. And now there's so much light, we cannot even see the stars from our backyards.
Yeah.
We can see a couple of them. We can see the big ones.
Yeah.
We can't see the little teeny tiny ones unless we go up to the mountains where it's dark or whatever. Yeah. When you leave this planet far enough away, it's pretty lit up by us now.
Yes.
But we're also a part of it. We're part of it. Yeah, we are part of nature. We are not separate from nature.
No, and our conversation about looking up at the stars, I think we've all done that as children. You know, what's your takeaway? What did you feel? You know, Lydia felt like she belonged in the stars, and we were talking about this, whether, you know, you believe you're an alien or a star seed, you know, there's this whole other dimension. You know, we can get into 3, 4, 5 dimensional beingness. You know, why is it for any of us that we can be somewhere, look at something, and it can be anything from a person to a place, and feel a connectedness, like we've been there before, or we know that person, or this feels at home to us.
If we are that connected,
past life. Yeah. What is that connectedness?
If we are that connected, we should be able to tap into how it feels to be an ant. Because we are no different. How we are organized as a species, they build there's these huge communities. And I remember being 11 years old on my way to my first day of junior high school. And I was with a guy, and he kicked an anthill. And I looked at him and I said, "You just kicked Beijing, like, why did you do that? They're organized, they're working, they're not bothering you, and you just kicked a whole city." And he looked at me like I was from Mars, because I am. Maybe, I don't know. But I thought differently as a kid. I was dyslexic. I could not understand the words and the orders that they were in. So everything I learned was from observation and experience. And so I questioned everything. Like, my father was a lawyer, and the first time I read an encyclopedia, I said, why should I believe this? Who is this person that wrote this? I don't know them. And he said, well, you would start to compare resources. And that meant not just book resources, that meant asking people questions, questioning
Yes.
everything.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So question everything, you guys. Because now we're finding out things that we didn't know are truth today, and they were imagined, not real then. They were theoretical physicists.
Mm.
And then the machine got built, and then there's the proof of what the physicists, the theoretical physicists thought. And it's like, it's fascinating.
Yes,
like, why
it
does
is.
our brain, how come our brains can even go there? Right?
That it is.
Yeah. Brains can go there. It's somebody's imagination and intuition that wants to follow something interesting. And then there's another person following something interesting, and pretty soon that gets connected and a quirk is discovered, or another particle is discovered. I don't know. Another universe is discovered. Another galaxy is discovered. I don't know. It's just
I
beyond
think,
imagination.
What you're talking about, what we're talking about, the little bit of the one video that I was able to watch from the PBS special that you sent the links to, and I'll include all of this, you guys, on YouTube when I write it. Yeah, and in the podcast recording. But I believe that scientist who was doing like a documentary, he is spiritual. The minute we start to think outside the box and we think in a way that connects us to how we feel about that experience, to me, is spirituality. You can take it as far and as deep as you want to go, but the minute we start allowing, we're just connecting. You can be a scientist and you can be spiritual at the same time, and you can look for the reasoning behind everything and the logistics, so to speak, and how things measure up. But also, when you start talking about how you feel about doing that, or exploring that, or figuring that out as a scientist, and this guy did it beautifully with a beautiful smile on his face. To me, he's in a spiritual experience. When you can transcend and take it beyond the practical, beyond what's logical, what quote unquote is logical. Beyond, and I say that massive logical.
Beyond what you can see, define, and measure and qualify.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's it. That says it right there. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. So real quick, I'm going to talk about impermanence. Because we talked about what's permanence. Impermanence means a fact or quality of being temporary or short-lived. The novel poignantly explores the impermanence of childhood, the ebb and flow of memories and experiences that make up our disappearing past. That's an example. I'm almost done. Duality, the quality or I love duality, the quality or condition of being dual. The novel's deep duality about human motive, an instance of opposition or contrast between two concepts. So it's kind of like the yin and the yang. It's the opposition or contrast between two concepts or two aspects of something, dualism. I love this word. The photographs capitalized on the dualities of light and dark, stillness and movement. So here we have the yin and the yang sign. So duality in life is everywhere. It teaches us that every aspect of life is created from a balanced interaction of opposite and competing forces. Yet these forces are not just opposites, they are complementary. They do not cancel out each other. They merely balance each other like the dual wings of a bird. The wing can be doing something a little bit different than the other side to keep the bird in flight and balanced. I love that duality. That was a big focus for me as an artist in my artwork. And I'm done. Those are oh, no, I'm not. I don't think duality. Yep. Nervous system and self-regulation. Yep. I'm done though. We are good, my dear. Take over now that I've.
I'm going, I kind of chimed in on a few of them, but I do
Yes.
have a few things to add. So, yes, I believe consciousness, that awareness of internal and external in existence. But I also believe, like, I am consciously sitting on a chair, and if I become so aware of the chair I'm sitting on, and I basically painted this chair. It was a chunk of wood when I got it, but somebody else built it. But I know that it came from a poplar farm. And I knew that it took so long to grow it for me to get it to a piece of wood to be a piece of chair. And I can follow it all the way back, and I can become a part of the chair, right? Like molecularly, I can find enough similar about myself that I can become one with the chair, or one with the coffee cup that I'm drinking out of, because of where it came from molecularly, maybe. And that is kind of like what I was talking about, how, like, to me, there's well, not to me, to everybody, there's two parts of the brain. There's the reflecting side of the brain and the problem solving side of the brain. And I'm not sure if I'm waving at the right sides right now. You should
Okay. The
tell that.
left is the problem solving, the analytical. You're in the right side would be the
Yeah. Yeah.
experiencing.
So, exactly. So for us, I think there's this beautiful connection that we get to live in here that helps us transcend information, right? Like transcending fear to curiosity, which is something that we do in the horse world a lot, especially in your method. We are
Very
constantly
well put.
trying to think out of the box to transcend the horse and ourselves from fear into curiosity, so that we can have a different experience with our horse. And then we become clairvoyant. We get clear about it, because we surpassed a boundary. We walked through something. We faced it. We faced everything,
Yes.
and we walked through it. And then in that clairvoyant moment, we get to rest because our brain is quiet.
Yeah.
Right? We have clarity. And so for me, it's like clairvoyance is leaving the shoulda, woulda, and couldas. You're done with them, right? No more woulda, shoulda, coulda. So you're living in the present moment. And then I told you stewardship is 98% maintenance. And that is, to me, that is having respect for everything, like including a goat head. Like goat heads came from somewhere, and I hate them in my bike tires and I hate them in my pasture, but they come from somewhere, right? And I have respect for that, but I also can manage my life so they're not in it.
Yes. Good point. Good point.
I
Very
can't
good
manage
point.
my neighbor's life so they're not in it, because they're coming from my neighbor. That this is the kind of thing. And so, like, for me, the whole thing about the searching for the quest for meaning in life, it was this experience he was talking about. The Dalai Lama talked about it too. And he said, consciousness has no beginning and no end. So if that's the case, then permanence and impermanence looks different to me. So to me, there is no impermanence if my consciousness lives on. And that has been my conflict through my whole life, is science and scientists, which I love, and I am one, have been telling me that there is nothing after the material world. It's done. Now science is proving that we are break down so small that we can't be done until we get so small that we're into nothingness. And then what's there, we don't know, because we can't measure it yet, just because we can't measure it yet. So for me, I've always heard the dead. I don't see the dead, I hear the dead. And they come in with a spark of light. It's like a burst, and they're gone. And I don't know where they live, and I don't know where they are when they come to see me. But I know that there's something conscious there, or it wouldn't be visiting me to talk to us. Like it wouldn't happen when I'm sitting with a friend who can't hear the person that they love who died. And that person visits me to say, I'm still here, you're okay, or whatever. I don't know what they're going to say, usually really short, silly sentences. And so when the scientists were telling me the two can't exist, I was like, I just can't agree with you. You can't hear the dead and say there's nothing out there past this.
And I'm going to interject something for anyone out there that doesn't believe in the ability to be telepathic or communicate with the dead or animals or be a medium or whatever you want to call it. If you there's a lot of us that have experienced these moments, whether we've hired someone to help us communicate with the dead or hear or communicate with our animals, but we all, like Lydia said, we're all intuitive. We all have the ability to hone in this skill and experience it for ourselves, not through someone else that we hire, but through ourselves. And I think the first, for me, as a teacher of this, of learning how to hone in on the skill, teaching the first skill is believing and allowing yourself to think about this, to transcend. It's a level of consciousness, as well as tune in through your sensory. There's a lot of factors, but it is possible for anybody that's on the fence, like, wow, I'd love to learn how to do this, but how do you do this? What do you mean you've heard someone from the dead talk to you? It's possible, but you've got to allow it to happen, as well as not be as intellectual, not be as cognitive, but the intuitive comes through your sensory awareness and processing, tuning in through your senses, and it's a somatic experience. So that's where we're headed with all of this. What do you feel, and how do you become whatever, clairvoyant, clairsentient? You get quiet, you get clear, and those are some of the steps. So it's pretty powerful.
And then nature will always reveal more to you when you're in that state. Nature will always.
Yes, always.
And
always.
Nature never lies. Nature never lies. Humans lie, but nature never lies.
And I don't expect it doesn't matter if anyone believes me or not, but I can remember so many instances in my life, especially with my late horse Brandy, where I spent so much time as a child and a teenager riding him, spending the whole day riding and exploring, and we'd graze, we'd swim, I'd pack a lunch. And, for me, it was laying in a hayfield and listening to the wind as it moved through the tall grass, just the whistling noise that you'll hear in the blades of the grass as they're, or corn stalks, whatever it is, just tuning in and listening and smelling and feeling the sun or the cold or the raindrops. And that's all an opportunity to, as Lydia is saying, to not just connect with everything around us, but to hear everything around us. Everything has a voice. How many of us believe trees speak all the time? That when there's a drought, that the deeper the roots are of a tree, that a tree will reach out to another tree, or the tree that's suffering from the drought, to give it nourishment. Isn't that amazing?
They share nutrients.
They share that.
One of the top scientists, physicists on that PBS series said this: through us, nature has self-awareness. We are looking at nature from the inside, not the outside. When we take time, we can reconnect to our ancestors' self in all forms and the long chain of lives stretching back to an unscathed land. That's kind of cool.
Wow. That is real. See, there's the spirituality. That's spiritual. That's beautiful.
Here's another scientist saying this: each of us a special arrangement of atoms and molecules, that life in any form is rare. One grain of sand in the Gobi Desert is a living being. that is us in the universe. That is the earth. We are 1/10000000th of 1/1000000000th of all life
Yep.
form. That is amazing.
Yep. Oh, that gives me chills. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. It's crazy to think like that, but it's beautiful. It's so
Right?
freeing for lack of just to
One
not just
billionth
be.
of 1/1000000000th of all matter in the cosmos. That is the earth, the living earth. That's wow. So tell me that isn't spirituality, like science proving spirituality and spirituality proving science. The quest
Yes.
to know these things is spirituality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The quest for
Beautiful.
knowledge and the investigation, the curiosity, Dalai Lama says that's spirituality. So I
Mhm.
close the gap between the two. I don't bridge it. I close the gap
Yes.
between the two. There's no difference to me.
Well, they like
They're
there's duality.
miraculous.
They complement each other, and maybe we're the ones that are creating this division. Like it's all or nothing. It's either
It's the quest
science
to
or
be different
spirituality.
instead of the same. It is the
Yeah, when
quest for us to be different from each other rather than be similar to each other.
they're
It's the quest, the ego quest for us to be better than our horses or all the other living animals by claiming consciousness over them. We don't have more consciousness than they do. We have less than they do.
Oh my God, I so believe that. I so believe horses have a higher level of a stronger level of consciousness all
I
the
believe
time. They're so
termites
present.
are more conscious than we are. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I don't know about that. Maybe.
I think we live in oblivion somehow, and it's mixed up in the material world of more, needing
Yeah,
more.
in ego and ego.
Balance.
Ego creates fear and in limitations. And if we don't feel like we have fear or limitations, then we think we're superior to everything. And in some ways we are. In some ways we are. We're more developed. I don't like the word superior. We just are more developed in some ways. But I can't say that having a more developed brain is helping us any. That's
It might
hurting
be
us if any.
overpowering connection redefined. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Because we've made a mess of things a bit, but we also are capable of miraculous ways of changing that and turning it around into something
Yes,
else.
we are.
It's
Yes, we are.
crazy. It's beautiful.
I have an
It's
interesting story, and then I'll stop because I want you to talk about your friend and whatever else. But just another incident of many for me. It was Friday night, and we were coming back from a celebration of life. And Kurt Mason and I promised my horses, we've had a severe drought here in Florida. It just started raining and things are perking up. So the horses are being hayed 3 times a day. And so I promised them when I came home from dinner and the celebration, then we all went out to dinner. I promised that I'd feed them, and I forgot, you guys. And so my husband woke me up at 4:00 in the morning, and he and Mason had fallen asleep watching a movie. I went to bed. He went to go to the bathroom, which men love, it's a farm, right? Let me pick that tree. So it's 4:00 in the morning. He sends Mason to bed. He goes to pee outside the front porch, and there's Blue in the front yard. And he comes in and wakes me up. He's laughing. He's like, "Hi." He's like, "We have a loose horse, an escapee." So, I turn on the front lights. I don't see Blue. I turn on the back light and I walk out the sliding glass door, and I hear Lovey in the corner, nickering to me. And she's basically saying, "Mom, they're here." So the only 2 escapees out of 3 were Blue and Joey, and Lovey had got them to come over to her, and they were in a dark, like the light didn't hit them, so I couldn't see. They're dark anyway. So Lovey nickered, and it was they have different knickers all the time, right? So she's like, like, "Here they are, Mom, here they are." And then they just walked back at liberty with me to the barn, and little Lando was still in the barn. Like, he's not stupid. He's like, "I'm not following these goons, I don't know where they're going." So before I went to them, or while I went to them, sorry, Kurt went to go figure out where they escaped. And so we checked the two gates up by the driveway in front of the cars, and Blue had bent, you know, that we have little latches, and he had completely bent. And I'll say it's Blue because Joey would never do this. So Blue came to get me because he had obviously pooped right outside my bedroom window because there's piles of poop everywhere, and there was one there. Came around the front, and but he had pushed through that gate, and he had pushed so hard, he not only bent the gate, he bent that steel piece that goes between the two latches. So there's Kurt banging away, you know, to straighten it all out. And the boys come with me, and I hate them all at 4 o'clock in the morning, but it just, they've never done that. And when you have that ability to talk to them all the time, and I just, Blue's never done anything like that. And to push on the fence that hard to open it, it's just mind blowing to figure that out. It's just mind blowing and there's, yeah, anyway, that's just an interesting little story. You guys are probably like, that doesn't really mean anything to me, Caroline, but I just see it in such a different way.
It kind of relates to, you know, their instinct to want to get past that point and eat.
Well, to me, it wasn't about the eating. I took it as a sign of, hey, I'm coming to get you. I'm hungry. You know, you didn't feed me. So this
but
is,
once he got there, he's like, look at all this grass. I don't need her now. Look at all this grass I got.
Believe me, we didn't have, there's no grass though. That's what I'm saying. We're burnt when you walk on your lawn and it crunches under your feet, and you can't go barefooted. So, well, it's
Because
fine
it's
now. We
really
have a really
green
good downpour. Yeah, no, we're good. We're coming back. But no, there was nothing to eat. That's what I'm saying. He came to get me. I don't know. That's what I believe, because I've had many situations like that. It's really wild. It's just, just put it out there that everything has a voice, and everything can tell you something if you just listen. If you just listen, we can leave it at that, and I'll shut up.
Yes. And that's good. I think we can almost close with that kind of a feel, because that's what we're talking about, is just being that aware and that in tune. And my baby did it recently too. He's been figuring out how to undo lashes and bending the little closed things that need to be heavier still than what I bought, you know, or whatever. I'm like, whoa, okay. He has an opinion about doing something, and we've got to talk about it, work through it.
Yes.
And then
yes.
they quit coming in recently. They picked grass over mama. And you know what I did? I turned into you're grounded. You're in. It's a great time to spray the pasture and get rid of the clover. You're in.
I love it. I love it.
You know, it's what needs to be done, and they're okay with it. So it's like, but I'm going to kind of close with this. I had a good friend die of a brain clot recently, and I have to run off to her funeral. And Cindy came from the heavens. She was an amazing human being. And I just want to honor her today for that reason, and send her on her way to back into the universe, wherever that is, and hope that she'll tap me on the shoulder and show me a pretty flower now and then. And I'm going to end with this. And this came out of another scientist's mouth, who is helping define particles and energy. If we look at discoveries of science, should we be amazed, humbled, or what? And she said, her answer was all of it. Amazed at what we are able, amazed at what we are able to do, to know, humbled by how much there is to know, more there is to know, and embarrassed about how much we've screwed up. That was her answer to the question. And then throughout that series, I want you women to know, when women were asked if they wanted to know about the origin of consciousness, the women said no. The journey and the layering and the investigation of it was the journey. They wanted that. They didn't want to know. And the men said, yes, they would like to know. There'd be no harm in knowing. It was funny because he asked each, one. And the men all said the same thing.
Wow.
The women all said the same thing. I thought that was interesting.
It is. I'm just responding to, so thank you, everyone. I'm responding right now to the beautiful comments and like mind and understanding from everyone. Aw,
God bless Cindy.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, God bless Cindy. I'm so sorry, Lydia. Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, she's where she belongs. It was a gift.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So thank you
Well, thank
guys. I
you.
enjoyed this. I love the topic. Could talk about it in a sleepover.
Yeah,
You know, but
I
under
love
the
it.
stars.
Yes. Well, and also, if any, let us know if you guys email me or leave comments and let us know if you want us to continue this in another podcast.
Yeah, I haven't
We
even
can go
touched on
talk
Temple
about-
Grandin and her brain yet.
Yeah, that's right. So then we will have to have a podcast too. Okay, we're on it. We're going to definitely have a sequel to this. Okay. All right. Bye, my friend. Love you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks, Lydia. Mwah.